Hello, hello everyone, and hello, happy InnerSource Day, yay! Thank you, and thank you for joining my session. My name is Ryo Ashikawa, engineering manager at Nifty Corporation in Japan. Today, I will share how we started InnerSource at Nifty, and 3 key points that accelerated it. I hope our story gives some hints for your own InnerSource journey. Quick intro about me. I worked for Nifty Corporation for 20 years. I started as a back-end engineer in 2004 and became a Scrum Master, and now I work on an engineering manager. I feel a bit nervous because I feel like Katsura-san was putting pressure on manager. So my hands were just sweaty. Just a moment. Oh, that is InnerSource hero. Oh, it's all right. You can do it. Thank you, InnerSource hero. So, I focus team collaboration and developer productivity, and that is why InnerSource matters to me. Today's story. First, I will introduce Nifty and what kind of company we are. Second, I will share our discoveries and efforts for InnerSource. Third, I will talk about 3 points that helped InnerSource grow in our company. Finally, I would like to talk about what we are planning to do in the future. What kind of company is Nifty? Nifty Corporation is one of Japan's traditional internet companies. We are established in 1986. It's very old. And now we are internet service provider. Our employees is about 500. We provide services like internet connection and security, plus web content such as news and point service and so on. So you can say we are old but flexible company, always adapting to new technology. This background helps us understand legacy systems and modern practices like InnerSource. Our engineering organization has more than 150 engineers in about 15 teams, and we manage over 1,000 repositories. And we manage these repositories under a single GitHub organization account. We have front-end, back-end, web, and customer support system teams, or SRE and QA teams. We are looking for a better way to collaborate beyond many teams, and that led us to InnerSource. Next, let me share our discoveries and efforts for InnerSource. In this slide, ここから頑張ろう in Japanese. That means let's do our best with InnerSource from here. Please could you repeat after me? ここから頑張ろう. Yeah, what a wonderful community I have here. One of the earliest motivation for adapting InnerSource was that we are having problems with resource management. Each team has its own tasks, and some teams are busy and some are not, depending on time of year. At the time, it was hard to share tasks or skills or help across teams. I thought, is there any way to do this without changing team composition? Then I found InnerSource, and an eye-opener for me. I read an article and case studies about InnerSource that inspired me. They showed that we can reuse open source practices inside the company. I first saw the website in this screenshot, written by Mr. Kobayashi and Toshiba Corporation. Where is he? あれ後でお礼言います。As has been shown so far, the InnerSource Patterns book was very helpful. It explains how to start, begins with the experimental project, then expand gradually. I really strongly recommend this book if you plan to start InnerSource in your company. As a side story, I'd like to explain how, as an engineering manager, I introduced InnerSource culture to my organization. As an engineering manager, I was also able to introduce InnerSource in a top-down way. However, in the context of autonomous collaboration between engineers, I wanted to make a culture that was bottom-up. So I chose a young engineer interested in InnerSource and made him field reps to promote it. Another thing I focused on the engineering manager that was telling other managers to properly recognize successful InnerSource activities in performance evaluations. In this way, Nifty's InnerSource was able to spread primarily through the field. That is the timeline of Nifty's efforts. We discovered InnerSource in 2022 and started an experimental project. In 2023, we created the guidelines and an InnerSource portal. In 2024, we joined the InnerSource Commons community, this community. Thank you so much, Hattori-san, for finding our company's activities. マジでありがとうございます。これからも頑張ります。More recently, we provide operation support to the InnerSource Gathering Tokyo 2024 and 2025. And now, about 50% of our engineers contribute to InnerSource project of our company. We are making steady progress. This chart shows our contribution network as of October 2025. Each red circle represents a contributor. Each blue square represents a repository. The line shows contribution network that go beyond their own teams. About 50% of our engineers are active contributors. It's a small step, but an important one for our culture. Now, I'll share 3 points that accelerated InnerSource at Nifty. 1, when interests align, InnerSource accelerates. 2, incorporate InnerSource into your workflow. 3, create a place to jump from user to contributor. Now, I'll explain it step by step. First, InnerSource works best when interests align. These are cases where InnerSource works well. For example, in the figure on the left, these are small tools and utility commands that one person have created to make their work a little easier. Everyone wants to finish their work quickly. These are the same interests. Maybe they want to go home on time to play video games and play his child. I don't know. Nifty's InnerSource activity also started here. Or in the figure on the right, when streamed aligned teams share the same source, like platform team's source. To give a specific and simple example, at Nifty, the definition file of user permission for the API is managed by platform teams inside the repository. And that users can submit pull requests to authorize their own use through contributions. This allows the contributor to use the API quickly, and maintainers only need to approve it. Next example, or in the figure on the left, I think it would very work well if teams with the same goal help each other out. However, in the figure on the right, it doesn't work well because each team is working toward different goals. For example, differences in business domains or technology stacks, and so on. In other words, if both contributor and repository maintainers benefit, contribution happens naturally. If only one side benefits, it doesn't work well. So we always ask, how can contributors and repository maintainers both win? I think this is the most important thing about InnerSource. Second, include InnerSource in daily workflows. This means incorporating InnerSource practice into established business workflows. A concrete example, a business department can directly edit email templates on GitHub with Web UI. Web UI is important point. They don't need to ask engineers for small changes of email templates. Here's a real example of contributing.md file. We just need to describe how to send a pull request with a screenshot in the contributing.md file. So then, even people who can't use Git commands can contribute using only a browser. This lowers the barrier and speeds up improvements. In other words, InnerSource is no longer just for engineers. Third, create a place to first-time contributors. In the OSS world, it's often said that there's a big hurdle when moving from user to first-time contributor. It's the first step in the figure. And it's the same in InnerSource. So we held a small contribution practice session. More than 10 people participate every time. And many asked to continue regularly. It helped users to take their first step as contributors. Here's the 60-minute agenda of the contribution practice session. What is InnerSource? 5 minutes. How to contribute with contributing.md file? 5 minutes. Explain good first issues of the product? 5 minutes. Hands-on implementation? 4 minutes. Short survey and sticker giveaway? 5 minutes. These stickers are always very useful. So far, I've talked about 3 points to accelerate InnerSource within the organization based on my own experience. Looking back, I realized that it's difficult to bring everything from all open source world into an organization as it is. There are various constraints, so we need to change our way of thinking and find suitable ways to adapting effectively. For example, in open source, contributors can contribute freely in their own time. But inside the company, they are usually working hour limits. On the other hand, since everyone wants to go home on time, people tend to be highly interested in improving work efficiency. Well, our interests align naturally at this point. And let's think about how to make InnerSource accessible to people who are not engineers. Furthermore, within the same organization, we hold the multiple business goals, and sometimes silos are formed. But rather than seeing these silos as everything negative, we can see them as good silos that help reduce cognitive load. Instead of trying to break them down, maybe we should think about how we can carry out InnerSource activities effectively inside the company. Finally, I would like to talk about our future plans and the effort we are making. At Nifty, volunteers work together to promote InnerSource activities within the company. We don't have an OSPO or ISPO. We meet every 2 weeks to talk about our task progress. They are the InnerSource officers of Nifty, like InnerSource heroes. Among them, there are tech lead engineer and also business staff who is not engineer. They are not here today, but I really thank them for their help. This is our plan until March 2026. We are working to support both repository maintainers and contributors. At Nifty, there are more than 1,000 repositories, as I mentioned earlier. We check the repositories one by one and try to find the ones that can grow as InnerSource projects. Then we suggest InnerSource ideas to the maintainers. We also hold a contribution practice session to encourage contributors, as I mentioned earlier. In 2025, we will continue these activities. And we also want to find new ways for non-engineers to join InnerSource activities. As I said earlier, we want to make InnerSource practice of our daily workflow. We believe there are more use cases for this idea. For example, maybe we can apply it to internal document that everyone uses. Thank you so much for listening so far. To summarize, Nifty started InnerSource 3 years ago. Now, about 50% of engineers are contributors. 3 accelerate as well. 1, InnerSource accelerates when interests align. 2, incorporating InnerSource into a workflow with non-engineers. 3, create a place to jump from user to contributors. We still have much to do, and we'll keep sharing our learnings with the community. Thank you so much for listening. If you are interested in Nifty's activities, please come talk to me after the session. Thank you.
Thank you.